Hello everyone, welcome to day 6 of our mains Samadhaan 75 days course. So today we'll be covering a GS-2 topic and the subtopic is Indian Constitution. So the question is, explain the different generations of fundamental rights and examine the role Supreme Court has played in expanding the scope of fundamental rights. So here one question is, we have to give the 4 generations: first generation, second generation, third and fourth generation with examples of fundamental rights. And the second part is, we need to explain how the Supreme Court has played in expanding the scope of fundamental rights. So we have to give some examples from different fundamental rights where Supreme Court has given some judicial interpretation or it has expanded the scope of fundamental rights. So first we can give an intro, that is fundamental rights is enshrined in part 3 of our constitution, which puts a restriction on the state's tyranny on individual or community. So there are 3 different generations of fundamental rights. First generation are mostly civil and political rights, essentially dealing with the liberty and participation of political life. So these rights protect the individuals from excesses of the state. Here you can give some examples like right to liberty, right to life, equality before law, freedom of speech. So all these examples comes under the first generation of fundamental rights. Those are civil and political in nature. Coming to the second generation, these are socio-economic in nature. They mostly deal with social needs and economic needs. So here we need to give some example which deals with socio-economic. Right to equality, Article 14. It is also you can also mention right to equality or equal opportunities in DPSP because it is also deals with economy. So you can also write DPSP, that is equal opportunities for equal work. Right to education, it is also a social thing. 21A, right to food, right to shelter, right to work, etc., etc. Coming to the third generation, these are collectively developmental rights. Okay, collectively developmental rights. For example, rights to minorities, Article 29 and 30. We have some rights related to the minorities, for linguistic minorities and also for religious minorities. Article 29 deals with the to preserve the language, the script of the minorities. Article 30 deals with the right to establish educational institutions, right to collective fraternity, consumer rights, right to differently abled, right to clean and healthy environment. It is also a collective developmental rights. Coming to the fourth generation. Now fourth generation is the rights of future generations. Now it impacts the whole community or whole humanity. Exploration of cosmic space, some examples: sustainable use of global commons, net neutrality, right to internet as a basic human right. See here, global commons means those things which are in a way like handled by or not coming under the ambit of a single country. For example, high seas, outer space, high seas, even Antarctica. These are not coming under a particular country. These are global commons. Now coming to the second question. So here we have mentioned about the 4 generations of fundamental rights. Now coming to what is the role Supreme Court has played in expanding the scope of fundamental rights. So here we need to write the evolution or some important judgments. There are a lot of judgments dealing with the scope of expansion of the fundamental rights, but here we need to, because since it's a 250 word question, so we need to give some examples, some famous examples. For example, first of all, A.K. Gopalan case. It was the first landmark case in the process of evolution. So the evolution of Article 21 started from here. But here the Supreme Court took a very narrow interpretation of the procedure established by law. It held that under Article 21, the protection is available only against arbitrary actions of the executive, that is against the procedure that has been established by law. The protection will not include arbitrary legislative actions by which law are formulated. I'll explain here a bit. It means what does Article 21 says? The Article 21 says the state cannot infringe your right to life unless it is mentioned under a law or under a procedure established by law. Now, who will make the law? It is the legislative. Usually it is the legislature. Now, in A.K. Gopalan case, the Supreme Court said that this protection of right to life is only available against the executive, not against the legislature. If a law if there is a law where it infringes your right to life, then the protection you will not get. You will not get the protection of Article 21 against the legislature, but you will get against the executive. So it was a very narrow interpretation. Fine. But the same thing was overturned in the Menka Gandhi case 1978. So it is one of the most important case. From here the scope of Article 21 expanded like anything, because in 1978 the Supreme Court expanded the interpretation of the Article 21 by extending substantive and procedural due process of law. So the Supreme Court said under Article 21 from today due process of law is also included in protection of life and personal liberty. Now what is due process of law? No need to write here what is due process of law. Due process of law is here in this particular you can say in this doctrine, the judiciary will always check the intent of the lawmakers, of the legislature. Now here, once a trial starts, the judiciary will check whether the intent of the lawmakers are good or not, whether it is against natural justice or not. If it is against natural justice, if the intent is against natural justice, then the judiciary can make the law null and void. This is the meaning of due process of law. Now due process of law was added apart from the procedure established by law. Procedure established by law, the judiciary will not check the intent. It will simply follow the procedure which is established by law. So in this particular procedure established by law doctrine or concept, the legislature has wider powers than the judiciary. But in due process of law, here the judiciary has wider powers. The judiciary has higher or wider powers than the legislature, because here the judiciary will check the intent of the lawmakers. If it is against natural justice, it has the power to make the law void. So this was added in Article 21 because Supreme Court said Article 21 deals with life and nothing is more important than protection of life. So here we cannot give arbitrary powers to the law. We cannot give arbitrary power to the law, and we should not allow the law to infringe our right to life and dignity. So that is why due process of law was added. Now it also included, the protection also included arbitrary legislative actions. Now the legislature cannot have the power to give any kind of arbitrary legislations which is affecting our fundamental rights of Article 21. So it was one of the most landmark cases when we talk about Article 21. So if you see carefully, after 1978, the Article 21 expanded. It expanded like anything because due process of law was added. Fine. Second thing is, so we are done with this one. Next case is 1950 Ramesh Thapar case. See here the question is, you need to see one thing here. The question is what the scope of fundamental rights, how the scope of fundamental rights was expanded. So here we cannot simply write about one fundamental right, because the question is about fundamental rights. So we have to give different examples. We simply cannot stick to Article 21. Fine, because the question is about fundamental rights, and Article 21 is not the only fundamental right. Okay, we should give some other articles examples. Here Ramesh Thapar case, here the Supreme Court ruled that freedom of press is comprehended under Article 19, freedom of speech and expression. In Mehta case, that is 1987, right to environment was included under the ambit of Article 21. Here also Supreme Court said right to environment is an inherent right under Article 21. Also right to privacy in Puttuswamy case. Obviously Article 21 is the most interpreted article among the fundamental rights. So 2 to 3 examples of Article 21 will work here. One example from Article 19, and another example you can give Visakha case versus Rajasthan. Here the Supreme Court recognized the gender rights of women facing sexual harassment at workplace, and it said that it is violative of Article 14, Article 19 and Article 21. Another case was this is also in 1987, Nandini Satpathy case. It was very famous case. This case was related to Article 20 clause 3 or self-incrimination. Now Article 20 deals with, the clause 3 deals with self-incrimination. So here the Supreme Court said Article 23 is a human article, and it also guarantees right to remain silent to an accused during police investigation. Usually the police does torture during the investigation, and forcefully they say to the convict to accept it, to the accused, sorry, not convict, to the accused to accept the crime forcefully. So it was also a very good case. The Supreme Court said the accused has the right to remain silent during a police investigation. So this deals with Article 20 clause 3. So different kinds of article we have mentioned here from the scope of expansion of fundamental rights, how Supreme Court has played a very important part, and also we have mentioned about the 4th generation of fundamental rights. And in conclusion, you can write, we can say that Supreme Court has played a very positive judicial activism. So this is nothing but judicial activism, but it is a very positive judicial activism. Okay, increasing the ambit of fundamental rights, looking at the dynamic needs of our society. So that's it. Anyone who wants to join the Samadhaan mains answer writing mentoring batch can talk to me or visit here. We'll be having answer writing on various topics of GS-1, 2, 3, 4 in strict word limit, and any kind of extra information for enrichment I'll be giving, and evaluation, and you can talk to me regarding mains. We also have different batches full year mentorship plan. Will not include any kind of classes like what to study, how to study, what are the sources, how to cover current affairs, how to cover static, everything I'll be telling in mentorship, plus evaluation is included. There are also other classes like mentorship plus class. So for all these details you can call me or visit my Telegram channel, or you can visit the website which is mentioned in the channel. Thank you.